Hey everyone, today we're in Edmonton, Alberta doing the iGregari crit points race. Points every 4 laps for 28 laps. It's going to be 4 deep for points, so first place gets 5 points, second place 3 points, third place 2 points, and finally last place 1 point with double points on the last and final sprint. So let's get started. All right, so we're into the first sprint here. This is the second to last corner. It's not a very technical course, so it's not really worth going through the corners here, but you do want to make sure that you are in a good position before the final corner here, and that's exactly what I do. I'm in third coming up to the sprint because it's only about a 250-meter sprint to the finish after you round this last corner. So I pick the inside line here. It's a very wide corner. There's tons of room to maneuver. I take it with a little more speed than the person in front of me, 330, and I'm able to just punch through a little bit quicker. Unfortunately, because I was in a good sprint condition, I was able to take that sprint in first place. But you'll see later on in the video where I don't go into the right position before the corner, I definitely pay for it and only ended up in third or fourth or fifth, and don't get the same amount of points that I would. So here I've completely slowed down a little bit, and we're going to skip to the next one. All right, so for the second sprint, you're going to see the iGregari folks working together a little bit more as a team. That's an Edmonton team who's actually hosting the race, and they have got the light blue and pink jerseys. That's 335 in front of me is one of them. Got maybe 4 or 5 people. And what they're starting to do after the first sprint is they're starting to work together as a team, which makes it a lot harder for someone like me who doesn't have as many teammates on this race to collect the points, because what they'll do is they'll send someone off the front, and you'll see this later in the video, and they'll just continue attacking. So that's one of my teammates, BC Sport, off the front there, but it's quickly countered and covered with iGregari. It's not a successful break here. I don't know that he was trying to break, but in any event, it's definitely shut down. So this is the only technical corner in the race. It's an S bend followed by a right-hand turn, but I wouldn't quite call it a chicane because there's still about 100 meters of maneuvering between these corners here. Right, so we're rounding the second to last corner. I'm in third, fourth place, so pretty good position right now. And I'm trying to figure out whose wheel to follow. There's a bit of fake sprinting going on, a bit of a show of force, if you will. The guy in the block, Mackenzie Porter, he's a really strong sprinter, so I want to make sure that I can either get in front of him somehow or stay right on his wheel, because I have no match sprinting against him if it's just a one-on-one. And that's what he does, is he'll out-sprint me in this race right here. And there's just nothing I can do to catch up. He's just so much more powerful. But staying on his wheel as much as possible did guarantee me a third place in this next sprint, so I'll call that a victory. All right, sprint number 3, and as you can tell, I've been sprinting pretty hard early on. My strategy's changed for this race. I'm trying to gain as much points early on, and then if I die out towards the end, not really contending for the double points. That's not a big deal. I find if you place a lot of pressure and emphasis on winning the final sprint, that's a really good strategy as well. But I find it's a little more risky, whereas points earlier on are typically easier to get. People are fresher, but they're less willing to work because they know there's a long race ahead, especially if there is a break that's going to happen. And of course, it does happen in this race. Once again, we're coming up on the S bend in the third sprint here. I'm in pretty good position, third. Of course, I'm working quite a bit harder than if I was, down back in 6th, 7th, or even 10th place. But this is where I want to be to rack up these points early on in these races. And again, 346, Mackenzie Porter, he's in front. He's super strong. What I really should be doing is getting right on his wheel and not behind the iGregari, but this is the spot I've chosen, and this is what we're going to go with. So I think the person in front of us is a lapped rider, so I'm not too worried about that. But here we go. Mackenzie goes again, and I'm just not able to catch his wheel. And you know what? I think I'm wrong. I think this person was off the front and just got caught. I guess. I don't really know what happened there. Anyways, fourth sprint. Here we go. So as you can see, I'm also being quite lazy on the front here. I'm not taking any pulls. These iGregari guys have, you know, 4, 5, 6 people. I don't really remember, but I'm not gonna do the work for them because they're a strong team. If they want to ride off the front, they can do that and they can start putting in attacks. That's not my job. My job is to get points. I'm not riding for any teammates here. There's no teammates on the front right now, so you know I'm essentially on my own uh, and just sucking on the iGregari wheel as long as I can. If this was a break and I was part of it, it would be different. But you know, we're at the head of the race here. Mackenzie also has no teammates, so he's also just in it for himself. All right, just finishing the S bend here. Again, third. Um, this is a good spot to be in. This is where you do want to be in. I think especially with this field, because there's so many strong sprinters, you do need to be up in front. Otherwise, it's really hard to come from behind and gain those points that you're trying to get. So we have one guy, he went off the front, but I'm letting Mackenzie, well, so letting him do the work, still putting in 800 watts to try to catch him. Um, but I'm saving my energy a little bit here. We're going to catch him just before this corner, it looks like. And this is really an opportunity to go. Unfortunately, we're 3 wide coming around this corner, so that's not ideal. And I kind of have to stay out of the draft and sprint for it myself, but that's okay. My power meter seems to think I'm doing 0 watts here. Definitely not, but you know, second place, I'll take it. That's not bad. All right, so what you're going to see in this next part here is some iGregari teamwork. Um, Actually, I'm not sure what they're doing here. They've got one iGregari person off the front, and then what happens is this next person comes in, closes the gap on his teammate, of all things. But, you know, I'm not going to complain. This is what other teams are for. But what you're going to see is as soon as I'm catching up, as soon as I bridge this final gap, and maybe that's what they wanted me to do, is to work to bridge this gap, they're going to send someone flying down with a counterattack. And what that does is it tires me out because they're going to be sending off someone new every time, someone with fresh legs, but I'm still the same person. I don't have any teammates to send down the line, so they just sent someone down. I'm pretty gassed. I'm not going to attack. And of course, if they're smart, what they're going to do is they're not going to be pulling hard to work and catch that teammate that they just created a gap for. And actually, this guy is going to end up staying away for the rest of the race, taking first place in all of the remaining sprints. This is still a bridgeable gap, but the reason I decide not to chase here is if I did chase, what would happen is they would just keep doing a counterattack and a counterattack and a counterattack, and I would just have no legs by the end of it and probably gain even fewer points. Uh, Looks like he's trying to sprint away. I don't really know what's going on here, but in any event, Mackenzie's in second, third, I'm in fourth right now. The guy in first is way off the front at this point. Like I said, he stays away, but this is where I do want to be. All right, so second to last corner, same thing. I mean, Mackenzie's got legs for days, so I really needed to be in a better spot than this. 335 is also very strong rider, so I'm just blessed to rack any points at this point. It's not the start of the race anymore. We're nearing the end, so people are working harder. The points aren't as easy to get, so I'm just trying to hold on. And then another thing you'll see here is I came out of the draft for a quick second, realized I wasn't going to out sprint them, and then I went right back in. And this is a good strategy, of course, for saving energy, but also ensuring that you do get third or fourth and not have anyone pass you at the end because you're benefiting from the draft there. All right, so here we're at 5 laps to go. I think everyone's quite tired. Um, and this, if you were a stronger sprinter or a breakaway person, um, this would be the race for you because the pace is quite slow. This would be a great idea or a great time to attack rather, and just go off the front for 5 laps. But that's obviously not my style of racing. I think too, if you were a strong sprinter, what you do here is conserve energy, stay in the peloton here, and then sprint your way to the finish. And then, of course, that's exactly what the stronger sprinters in this race do. From a technical perspective, like I said, there's not a whole lot to this course. We talked about sprinting and cornering in other videos. There's not a whole lot going on here. The corners are so wide, and the number of lines you can take are quite varied, but at the same time, like no line is that bad just because you do have so much margin of error. Here I take the front on the sprint lap. Not sure why I do that. I think everyone's going quite slowly. So I'm just kind of playing with it, waiting for someone to attack just like that. And then you're going to watch as I start sprinting as well, trying to get on that wheel. So I see Mackenzie go, and that's my cue to get on his wheel. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit late because I take the corner and I'm just not fast enough. But sometimes it goes that way. And of course here it looks like I'm in fourth, but I'm actually in fifth because if you remember, there's someone off the front here. And here we go into the final sprint. Of course, in these points races, people are going to be going quite slow. They're not going to be working very hard until the final sprint. And that's just the nature of points racing. It doesn't matter how fast you go in between those laps. What really matters are those points laps. You see someone go off the front. Mackenzie's there to shut it down a little bit. And I need to make sure that this doesn't become anything super threatening. Just because it is the final lap, it is double points, and I want to maintain my points that I gained on the first lap, on the first few laps here. So luckily, it doesn't look like he's going very far. He's still sprinting, but he's not going full gas. Mackenzie is working to shut this gap down, so I'm happy just chilling in the back here for now. And that's what you should be doing: is don't work harder than you need to. Of course, coming into the final corner, you do want to do that. And here the pace is slow down, both for the guy in front, but also for us here. I do see an opportunity. I think I should have gone on the inside here, but I do. I'm able to sort of leap forward, cut inside quite safely, and then punch through. But what the person in front did was really smart. He made a long sprint from about a minute out, and we are just not able to catch him, especially through those corners there. So there we go, third place in the final sprint. I'll take it, and third place overall.